Hi, my name's Duncan Lee. For those of you that don't know me, I was born into the water sports industry. I've been around all these water sports my entire life and have been heavily involved in a few of them. This is the history of wake surfing. This film is my perspective of how wake surfing started, where it's gotten to today, and where it might be heading in the future. I've watched wake surfing grow from an idea all the way into a professional sport with world-class competitions held around the globe. Wake surfing is a sport that the whole family can do and everybody loves.
Wake surfing has been around for a long time, but it never came to market. You look at all the old beach blanket bingo movies with Frankie and those guys. They were surfing, I think, in one of the lagoons there behind some boats on long surfboards.
The latest craze among water bugs is boat surfing. That is, getting up speed behind a towboat and then riding the wake. When they reach about 10 miles an hour, they cast the surfboard adrift on its own.
I remember sitting in the family room with my family, watching TV, and it might have been a program called Believe It or Not. And I'll never forget seeing this guy and a girl surfing on a longboard, and as they panned back, I said, believe it or not, they're doing it behind a boat.
No longer will surfboarding be confined to ocean beaches if this new craze catches on.
It's just really neat to see what a little sport that started off with some guys in the 60s, behind a outboard boat cruising on these big tank longboards. It's crazy how fast it's growing.
What grabbed me for wake surfing was that I could never just go to the coast. I could never be in Hawaii. I could never just go surf. So we started surfing after we saw some of these vintage films of people surfing. So we were just using regular ocean boards behind boats. And back then we really didn't know about how to weight a boat, how to do this, but we still had a blast doing it.
We were surfing, and obviously when the waves were bad, I remember being out in the boats and looking back there going, man, I bet you I could surf that way. And I kept grabbing surfboards from the surf guys, and I'd drag them out, people out behind the boat to show them they could actually surf behind our boats. We wanted to show how great the wake was, how big it was. I remember being at the show, and actually Rick and I were walking around, and all of a sudden I looked, and here are companies building wake surf boards.
Board companies came along and started to produce boards that were better for wake surfing behind boats. They were a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner.
About shaping the boards, we started out, and the ocean boards have a lot more rocker to them, and they're meant for big push coming down a big wave. How we design our boards is, I thought, well, that's slowing us down. So we started doing just a little bit of rocker in the back end, and we found out that the board got faster. And once we figured out the rocker, we started working on how sharp the edge had to be on the back and where it started, feathering up and getting a little rounder towards the front.
Jeff shows up with this big white inland surfer board. He said, I made my own board for wake surfing. We were wake surfing behind little ski boats. That's how we started. Our first experience with a real wake boat was at the first World, well I guess only the second Worlds then, on Lake Yosemite outside of Merced, 2004 maybe? So we show up with our boards and we're all excited to ride, and there is an avalanche. And it felt like the wave was overhead. And then the Enzo came out and worked with Tim Lopes at the time. He said, listen, got this new boat coming out. I don't even know if I bought it sight unseen. It changed everything. Now we're, 15, 20 feet away. It's a legit wave. You can start trying to catch air. You can start doing some really fun stuff. And once we got the first Enzo, that was it. Game over, hooked, line and sinker. We are in, and this is legit.
Plug and play, hit a switch. You don't have all the sacks sitting around in the boat. You still have the space in the boats for everything. With the trim tabs, the hull designs, the weight setups, everything is just awesome now.
A wake surf boat generally is weighted from one side to the other to create a dominant wave behind the boat, either regular foot or goofy foot. We've generated methods to shape that wave as it comes off the side of the boat and the bottom of the boat with a combination of ballast tanks and actual hull tuning to create surfaces that smooth the water out, clean up the face of the wave, and make a crisp crest without a lot of white water to generate a wave with a lot of energy that allows someone to enjoy themselves while surfing.
Wake surfing has been around since before the 70s, but it wasn't until the mid-90s that it really caught on. Centurion Boats has helped the sport with technology and drive, while riders have pushed the sport with progression. Let's head down to the Delta and check out some of the latest techniques.
Well, in the early 90s, we produced a boat called the Wave, which was the first wakeboard-specific boat with an extended pylon and built-in ballast tanks. The idea being that it would no longer throw a small wake, that it would throw a bigger wake for wakeboarding. Tim Lopes and we sent my son Duncan to one of the first or second board stocks.
I looked at Tim and I said, Tim, why are you bringing a surfboard to a wakeboard event? Well, sure enough, the water got rough, and Tim and I surfed all day. It was amazing. Everybody was checking us out and wondering what we were doing because we were so close to the boat, going 10 miles an hour and having a blast.
When they came back, they talked about how great it was, and Tim convinced me to go out to Lake Yosemite with him, where he proceeded to get behind the boat, got up on a surfboard, threw the rope in the boat, and surfed his way across the entire lake. We all thought, this is something that looks like it could be a lot of fun, because he went slow, he didn't get hurt, didn't beat up his body. After that session, Tim decided to call Rusty Surfboards.
We decided at that point that, you know, wake surfing actually could be an industry, and nobody in the boating market, tow sports market, was accepting it. Wakeboarders, I honestly feel they were threatened by it. I think the slalom skiers, you know, they had no interest. They had their private lakes and they were doing their thing. And the boat companies were, you know, completely gun shy of the whole idea of being that close to a boat doing what we were doing.
We all looked at each other in amazement.
We went down, met with Rusty's Surfboards, and took a group of their guys out and showed them what the boat could do, and, you know, how big of a wave we could put out at the time, and how you could ride forever, which I don't think they were prepared for. Most of them were pooped within about 3 or 4 minutes because they'd never ridden a wave that long.
While we were out on Mission Bay, Tim and the group of surfers were all going at it pretty hard, and the competitive juices kicked in. Everybody wanted to outdo the next guy. It was quite obvious that Tim had done the best of all of them, so he was voted the first World Wake Surfing champion.
I said, you know what, it's time, we got to do something, you know, otherwise somebody else is going to do it, and that's when we decided to do this World Wake Surf Championship.
There was a couple skim guys out there coming from the ocean that were crushing it, and there was a couple surf guys.
I got into the finals in 8th. I think I was in 8th place out of like 8 people that they took, so I barely made it. And halfway through my first pass, I was like, man, this is like skimboarding. It all clicked. Did a 3-shove. Everybody freaked out. Did a couple other tricks, and I won. And ever since then, I've just kind of been hooked on it.
I've just really enjoyed, you know, riding at World. It's always been such a great time.
I've been to every wake surf contest, at Worlds at least, and competed in each one.
That's
and
awesome.
It's been an absolute blast. I've met some of the nicest, most fun people, and they're like me. They just want to go out and have fun, do their best. So it's been an absolute blast.
Oh, since 2010, I've been the director of World Wake Surfing Championships for Centurion Boats. So my involvement with Worlds is from the orchestration aspect, the planning, sponsorship, fundraising, coordination. I also work with the CWSA, which is the governance board that helps us define the criteria for boards, for division classifications.
The World Wake Surf Championship started in 1996. It was held in Mission Bay with a really small group of Rusty Surfboards surf team. In 2003, the World Wake Surf Championships went to Lake Yosemite, California. In 2004 through 2006, it was combined with board stock. In 2007, it went back to Lake Yosemite in Merced, California. In 2008, we took it all the way across the country to Nashville, Tennessee. Due to the economy in 2009, the World Wake Surf Championships got postponed until 2010, when it was held in Minneapolis, Minnesota. In 2011, Parker, Arizona became the new home of the World Wake Surf Championships. It was the largest purse, the biggest event, and the most competitors yet.
The World Wake Surfing Championship started off with a small group of people in Mission Bay, and then progressed the next year to become a little bit bigger, but still a small group of people getting together to enjoy a sport that they love. There were probably 30 to 50 people the first few years that we had it. It's now at Parker, Arizona. It's one of the largest water sports towed events in the country. The prize money has blown up. The sponsorship generally sells out the first few weeks that we open the sponsorship availability within the sport. And board manufacturers are now starting to come out of the woodwork because they realize the magnitude of the market for wake surfing.
The World Wake Surf Championships has blown up, and there's competitors all over the place that come out for this event. Nowadays, it's a pretty heated battle, and these guys are fighting for some big cash on the line.
The biggest, coolest thing about that event it's a bro down. Everybody gets up there, everybody's friends, we run tons of boats, everybody gets to ride, and then we go to the event. It's just a great time with a lot of friends. Everybody could go to the cantina and chill out and have a good time. It was great.
I try to just save it for the 2 contests this summer, and Worlds is definitely one of those, and it's always been such a great time.
Seems like every year we definitely get a bigger turnout, a better riding, and more riders, more people apt to it, new faces every year. Just the World Wake Surf Championships I look forward to. I've already booked our spot for this one and ready for it.
Keenan Flagel, he showed up in 2010. Rode pretty good and then got in the finals, and I don't know what he ate for breakfast, but I mean the kid couldn't fall, didn't matter what he did. And then I came back last year for 2011 and won it for my 6th time.
Competition is getting greater and greater all the time, so it's being harder to keep winning because the tricks are progressing, riders are progressing, it's more people doing it, and especially last year for me was really special to win it again because I did the run I dreamed of before I went there.
My name's Clint Preisendorfer. I've been a surfer my whole life. I'm 26 years old. Started surfing when I was 15 months old. Didn't really have much of a choice in the matter. But my friend started wake surfing 5 or 6 years ago and took out a couple regular surfboards and had a blast and realized that you can really tune it to make it very specific to a wake. So it got me thinking about three and a half years ago to start making my own. And that's the ultimate freedom. I get a big block of foam and I get to carve whatever I want out of it and really let the imagination go wild, especially with something as new as wake surfing. The biggest difference between an ocean surfboard and a wake surfboard technically is you don't have to paddle. And so you don't have to give the surfer as much foam to catch the wave because you have a rope to pull yourself on. So that's the biggest difference, but the similarities are actually really close. You know, the focus on the surface area, the float of the board, it's all proportional to the surfer, to the wake, to the boat.
I feel like ocean surf is harder than wake surfing because of all these other steps that that I didn't think about before I actually tried it, which is paddling to go out and facing all these waves that you gotta actually cross and duck dive and then paddle to come in and stand up and all that stuff that I didn't really think about before I actually tried it for the first time.
The difference in skim style and surf style is obviously the board to start with. You're going anywhere from 51 to like 58 inches, which would be a pretty big skim board. But then you get to a surf style board, it looks a lot more like what you would see some guy carrying down to the water at the beach. Point your nose, bigger tail on it. The fins are obviously a huge difference. Those guys are 3 to 4 inch fins. Watching those guys ride is a huge difference. Skim style guys are doing 180 shove it's, 360 shove it's, 540 shove it's, big spins, which is like a 360 shove it with a body varial, switch big spins, frontside big spins. I mean, those tricks are just getting pretty crazy. Surf style guys, there's a handful of them that are doing shove it's, big sprays, big airs. Those guys probably do the biggest airs in the business.
It's an interesting mix, and it actually brings a lot of flavor to the sport because you have 2 totally separate styles of riders.
What we've seen transpire when we talk about history is Keenan that I mentioned and James Walker, Drew, of course. You can't tell what style or technique these guys are riding anymore. What they're doing is they're jumping 2.5 to 4 feet air. They're spinning in the air. There's literally air threes as a common trick now. In 2006, the alley-oop three was it was a staple in a pro wake surf run, and it was a big deal.
This next segment is from Slash Tank Productions, and they're an example of companies that are really pushing the sport to the next level, getting the sport out there to the public, and showing everybody what can be done behind these boats.
The sun is shining every day.
Wake surfing is blown up so much that everybody's involved in it these days. You see anybody out on the lake, guaranteed they have a wake surf board on their boat and they're going out for a session.
Remix.
What's really cool after 10 years is we're seeing it really starting to move, really starting to pick up.
It's spread across the entire United States and now gone worldwide with competitions popping up everywhere. I'm Duncan Lee, and that's the history of wake surfing.
Remix.